What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 43 of the College Loop Podcast, or the Philip Kirkett episode, if you will, which actually goes right into what we're going to be talking about today, the tight end position. But before, go ahead and shout out the fact that I'm alone again. It's just me. I'm the only one that takes the show as seriously. Kidding, of course. They're just Harrison Tarr is in a boat somewhere in backwoods Georgia with absolutely no service. Usually, it takes him about 10 minutes to respond. It takes about 3 hours. Daniel, I believe, was covering some kind of athletic event out of town, so he was not able to make it on time. So it's just me. Gonna be like a shorter episode, more than likely, like 20-30 minutes, hopefully, because my voice will hurt after a certain amount of time. But yeah, to get started in the football speech talking topic. There we go. Words are hard. So we're gonna talk the tight end position in honor of this being the 43rd episode. And rest in peace, Lutz and Kirkin. Gave me some of my favorite memories as an Auburn fan growing up, especially the Lutzy in the 2010 Iron Bowl, where Cam Newton led a 28 or 24-point comeback and won the game 28-27 in a game that I had a lot of fun going to school afterwards because it was a fun game. Second half, at least. But yeah, so Auburn is going into the season, of course, with a new coach in Hugh Freeze, who is known for his tight ends, especially with Evan Ingram and him recruiting Dawson Knox, who are both in the NFL. And I believe have both made a Pro Bowl. Evan Ingram had a really good season, so I think he made one this year. I think it was his first time making it. And Dawson Knox is, of course, the Buffalo Bills tight end who has reached popularity after his stellar season he had this past season. Both those guys made the playoffs. So Auburn is going into this season with, I made a count of all the notable tight ends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tight ends that are on the roster that I think can make an impact in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to start from the bottom to the top just because the best one available is, it's going to be the easy answer for this question. So my question is, how much of an impact will the tight end position be at Auburn in 2023? Ask y'all that. Ask who you are with the stat line for the projected starter, Rivaldo Fairweather, who I'll be talking about very shortly. But start things off with Micah Riley Ducker. Got redshirted in 2022, highly touted 4-star recruit in the class of 2022. Flipped from Iowa to Auburn, which kind of led me to believe that he's going to be the starter over like Tyler Fromm and Luke Deal. But I don't know what it really was. He didn't see he got to see the field in 4 games, and they gave him the red shirt. Did not get a catch, did not really do anything but block, really. Maybe ran a route or two, but at 6'5", 238, dude's talented, dude's a stud. I just think that, he's young, and there's a lot of old dudes in this locker room. Last season you had John Samuel Schenker be your best tight end, but he didn't put up crazy stats. He's put up better stats yardage-wise. I put up, I think, a couple touchdowns. But moving up, Brendan Frazier starts my one of 3 or 4 seniors, actually. Brendan Frazier, 6'7", 271 pounds from the class of 2020. Last season, got 2 catches for 19 yards. He's a guy I'm not really expecting a lot from. His size makes him a lot more appealing than he has been playing. So I'll just leave it at that. Luke Deal and Tyler Fromm, going to combine these two. They basically are the same guy. They play exactly the same. Both 6'5", Fromm 239, and Luke Deal is 256 pounds. Both those guys got 3 catches. Both got Luke Deal got 34 yards. Tyler Fromm got 51 yards, and neither one got a touchdown. They were more the backups behind Schenker. They're reliable targets, but not really the focal point of the tight end position last season, at least, and they for sure will not be this season because of one guy coming in from the transfer portal. Florida International tight end Rivaldo Fairweather, who last season 28 catches, 426 yards, and 3 touchdowns, which is the best tight end season that we've seen from it. I don't want to say from an Auburn player, but the best tight end stat line that would have been the best tight end stat line from like the past 5-10 years, really. Because looking back at the last notable tight end stat lines for Auburn. 2021, where John Samuel Shinker got 33 catches for 413 yards. Did get a touchdown, though, somehow, some way. Then 2011 and 2010 were my last two that I looked up, both Philip Wilson-Kirkin. 24 catches, 238 yards, 7 touchdowns in 2011. And of course, 2010, the national championship season, 15 catches, 185 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, 185 yards and 238 does not sound like a notable season stat, but the 12 touchdowns combined is where I'm standing at with those two. Because the tight end position has been so underwhelming per se at Auburn. CJ Uzama was the last, I'd say, good tight end Auburn had. He got drafted. I was kind of shocked because the stats weren't there, but that was just me at the time. Watching back at the film, he was a great target. He won Auburn the Mississippi State game in 2013 with that back corner catch. But when I look back, the seasons, the stats, the targets, not really the forte of Auburn to utilize a tight end since Philip Wilson-Kirkin, CJ Uzama in 2013. Really, after 2013 and 2014. Tight ends weren't really a thing. You had Brandon Foles, who was more of a fullback. Chandler Cox was a fullback, but they kind of utilize him as an H-back. And that's more of an excuse to, call him a tight end. And then it was more of a Gus Malzahn thing. He never really used a tight end after that, when it would have been really helpful to have those very reliable targets coming out running routes. You hope the wide receiver position would be picking up any lack of production from tight ends. But here's the thing. Auburn hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver since before I was born. So that's where that stands. You would think that they would use a tight end more because they're reliable. Auburn doesn't have the best quarterbacks throughout the seasons. Between Nick Marshall and Bo Nix, Nick Marshall and Jarrett Stidham, not a lot of consistency at the quarterback position in general. And a tight end can help that. I never really understood why Auburn didn't try to get a tight end. I was stoked when they got Fromm and Deal. But even then, they weren't really utilized. We saw them kind of pop off sometimes when Bo Nix needed a guy to throw to after he ran 30 yards to get back to the line of scrimmage. It just never really happened. But I'm looking at it going in with Hugh Freeze, who is known for his tight end usage. In 2016, Evan Ingram, 65 catches, 926 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was a finalist, one of the finalists. I can't find if it was a semifinalist or what, but he was in the running for the John Mackey Award, which is a national tight end award. And of course, in 2018, Evan Ingram also had, or 2014, 662 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the 662 yards is where I'm at. 38 targets or 38 receptions for them. I look at Rivaldo Fairweather, kind of like an Evan Ingram. Partially same build. They're both very tall. Rivaldo is probably a little bit bigger, 251 pounds, 6'4". Rivaldo is going to be the guy at the tight end position, at least. I think Camden Brown is going to be the number one target at wide receiver. But I think with Rivaldo Fairweather, whoever's starting at quarterback, whether it be Robbie Ashford, Holden Jarrett, or if we pick up some guy in the portal, I look at Rivaldo Fairweather as that number one reliability target. He's not going to be your flashy stat line. He's not going to get you 1,000 yards more than likely. It won't happen. It rarely happens in college. It happens a lot in the NFL because the NFL is a tight end league now. You got Kelsey, you got Kittle, you got Hawkinson, you got Andrews. All those guys are putting up crazy numbers because the tight end position is so valuable nowadays. And we've seen that in the past 2 national championships where the best tight end in the country played for Georgia, Brock Bowers. But Auburn really needs to have that kind of reliable target that they haven't had in a hot minute. I would say John Timoshenko was a reliable target, but he never really was utilized like he probably should have been either. We saw that with the combine, where he's run the fastest 40 from any tight end in this draft class, and probably had one of the best pro days of any of the tight ends. And I look at it from a standpoint of Rivaldo Fairweather has the talent. He has the ability to do what needs to be done on offense. He's smart. He's fast. He's athletic. He can catch anything. And I sit there and wonder, can Auburn get like a good 500, 600-yard season out of a tight end? And Rivaldo Fairweather has the talent to do that. I just wonder if the scheme, it comes down to the scheme, the quarterback. Philip Montgomery didn't really utilize tight ends at Baylor, but Hugh Freeze does. That's kind of the meshing point. From what I've heard, Rivaldo Fairweather has had a very good spring, and he's just as advertised. And I think Auburn fans are stoked to finally see a tight end of this caliber come to the Plains. I think when it comes down to it, I think Valdo can put up 500 yards easy. I think he could be the second on the team in receiving yards. But will that happen? I think so. That's going to be my answer to that. I think we're going to see a steep incline in talent at the tight end position under Hugh Freeze, because in his offense, when it comes down to a quarterback, you have to be able to scramble. And whenever you're scrambling, your safety blanket is usually the tight end position. And Rivaldo Fairweather is going to be that safety blanket. And whenever you think about it from that standpoint, I think Valdo is going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of catches. He's probably going to have the best tight end season we've had since 2021. I don't want to say 2021 because I didn't get any touchdowns, but best like touchdown season since Lexington in 2011. That's over a decade ago. And I have a lot of faith in Hugh Freeze right now. I have a lot of faith in the scheme. I stand behind it. Valdo has been one of my favorite pickups from the portal. Of course, Gunnar Britton's my favorite just because I love the big boys up front. I think Rivaldo Fairweather is going to be one of the most impactful pickups in the country, let alone in just Auburn and in the SEC. But, excuse me, when I think about it from that point of view, I think that Auburn is going to have a different outlet going forward. Auburn has 5 very talented tight ends on the roster as we speak. And since they've been on roster through the end of the Gus Malzahn era, through the Harsin era to now, not utilized like they should have been at all. And I think Hugh Freeze is going to change that. And I think we start for Rivaldo Fairweather. I think he's going to have a really good season. And it's going to be something different Auburn fans have not been used to in a hot minute. If you want to count Salcanello, the tight end, it kind of like that. But with Landon King, I don't know if Landon King really has anything to say. I don't really see him as a tight end anymore. He's more of a flex option to me. Is just what I'm hearing. But I think there's going to be a different mindset about the tight end position on the Plains. All right, now to talk about the baseball and softball. So Diamond Sports that have been going on this weekend. It's been a very slow week for Auburn sports. There's no basketball, women's or women's. There's not a lot of gymnastics is going to get talked about a little bit. That's going to be towards more the end of the show just because it's a little depressing. So we're going to end the show on a downer before end the show off. But, you know, a huge shout out to Auburn Equestrian for winning the SEC. A huge accomplishment for them. It was huge. It happens a lot, actually. So maybe not as it's huge to win the SEC. I wish I had seen more of this season. Equestrian is always good at Auburn, and I mean they're always a national championship contending. So if you want to see a team wearing, you know, this logo, sorry, this logo, win a national championship, win an SEC championship more often, I advise that you start watching more Auburn Equestrian if you want to see more consistent Auburn wins. And huge shout out to swimming and diving too. They're popping off. Volleyball starting up soon. And track and field is popping off as well. And soccer started off the season with a huge win as well. Now to get started on Diamond Sports, which I started off saying in the few minutes ago. Baseball started off playing the number 2 team in the country in Gainesville, Florida. And won game 1, 10-1. I was mind blown whenever I wasn't personally watching the game. I was driving in a car, so I didn't know what was going on. I was just kind of hoping that it was not going terrible, and this is the adverse effect of that. Auburn won in Gainesville 10-1 in game 1 behind the arm of Tanner Bauman, who had 4 strikeouts, 7 in total for the team. But Auburn just held this very, very potent Florida defense to only 1 run in game one at least. And it was crazy. I wasn't expecting it. I had to ask my girlfriend if that score was real because I was shocked by the fact that Auburn was winning in general. I was expecting one win to be the limit. I was not expecting game one to be that. But Ike Irish another home run. Beware does what Beware does. He had a home run as well. Game two. Now I start talking very positive game one. Now game two is kind of what I expected to see this weekend. Auburn lost 12-5. And pitching was absolutely abysmal. It looked like it always did. And that's going to happen whenever you're down to your last arms. You have to go into Sunday at noon. As it's coming out, so today at noon, Auburn's going to take on Florida in Game 3 with Tommy Vale as pitcher, who has been one of the hotter hands on the mound since the departure of Joseph Gonzalez and his injury. Hopefully he's back soon. Auburn is in desperate need of Gonzo because right now the pitching rotation is questionable, and that's a giant question mark. Bolded, underlined, 30-point font, italics, questionable, because Auburn doesn't have a reliable pitcher. Tommy Vale's been doing well. Tanner Bauman played pretty daggum good against Florida in game one, but game two kind of showed that. Kind of showed the I don't want to say frailness, but the weakness that Auburn has. It doesn't have reliable pitchers throughout an entire weekend. And game two is a bummer. You go into game three hoping you can get it all set back right. Tommy Vale is probably the best pitcher you have left, and game as well, starting pitcher at least. And you go into game three. Hopefully, Auburn can pull out the win. If Auburn wins this weekend, I think it tremendously helps your season. It almost, and if Tarr was here, he'd probably say it would save your season for the short run at least until something else happens. But this weekend has proved that Auburn desperately needs Gonzo back. This is Auburn fully healthy, by the way. They went 1-1 versus Florida so far. Game 3 again today at noon. It's in Gainesville, but if you can make the drive by the time this comes out at 8:30, get to Gainesville, support the Tigers, and hopefully they clinch it. It'd be awesome. It gets Auburn right back on track after a couple weekends. Beat Georgia, clinched against Georgia, got games 1 and 2. Game 3 did not go well. And then, of course, you look back, he got swept by Arkansas. This kind of shows that Auburn is a team to be worried about in the SEC. Of course, Arkansas is a really good team and swept Auburn. Florida's also a really good team and did not sweep Auburn. So I think with Gonzo back, Auburn's back on the upwards trajectory. And then other diamond sports going on this weekend. Softball playing in Auburn, Alabama at J.B. Moore Field. Catch me at Auburn Ole Miss today as it's coming out. I will be heading there today with my girlfriend. So if you see me, come say hey. Go talk to me softball. It's been a hot minute since I've been to a game. So come say hi. But yeah, game 1, Auburn won 8-2. Scored 3 runs in the second, 4 runs in the third, and got that clinching one in the fifth. Went to 7. Return of the Bree Bombs is what I have for this game. That's my big headline for this game. We finally got a home run from Bree Ellis after weeks without one, and it was refreshing to see. After weeks of her hitting foul balls left and right, she finally got one back. And spoiler alert, go ahead and bet on her to hit one this game, because I've brought my girlfriend to 3 games as we speak, and she's never not seen a Bree bomb. So go ahead and bet your mortgage on a Bree bomb today. But of course, if you look at the pitching rotation, it was just Penta, all Penta. I would say it's Pentagon, but she pitched for all 7 innings. Got 9 strikeouts. Maddie Penta is back to where she needs to be. We talked about it last week. she got her confidence back after a very rough stretch, and it looks like she is back to being one of the best pitchers in the SEC, and of course one of the best in the country. If Auburn can keep this up, I mean, the pitching is not really a question. Some days they just have bad days. Like today, I don't say it was a bad day. I think Weidra just kind of had some hits turn into runs. Auburn, of course, lost Saturday. Yes, yesterday as this comes out, 4-1 to the Ole Miss Rebels, and it just wasn't a good offensive day. Auburn had 7 runners left on base, and they had 6 hits. Only one got into a run. It was just a rough stretch, rough day, not stretch, rough day. Auburn has had some of these there, here and there and whatnot, but it was just one of those days. It's kind of sucked that after 2 big wins on Friday for both baseball and softball, that Saturday kind of turned into a trash heap with the 12-5 loss in baseball and 4-1 loss in softball. Because I don't want to separate them for right now. I think softball is better than Ole Miss, and I think they're going to clinch it tomorrow. But it's got to be more consistent on offense. They don't get a lot of hits at times. It just at points it just seems like Auburn is just out there swinging to swing. A little bit more consistency is all I'm asking for. They're fine. It's a very talented team. I'm not stressing the season whatsoever. But some of the games that I have seen, have watched, have talked about, have been very scary at times because Auburn sometimes struggles when it comes to hitting the ball, getting on base, scoring. And yesterday seemed like one of those days. I think they're going to fix that tomorrow with Emma and Weidra pitching yesterday. I assume Shelby Lowe or Penta again, but more likely Shelby will be back pitching, and hopefully Auburn just gets right on when it comes to batting. But yeah, with that, that's all I have. It's shorter show always when it's just me because my voice can't handle talking for 40 minutes alone. But yeah, make sure to go follow Harrison Tarr and Daniel Locke. That's by Harrison Tarr on Twitter, and of course Daniel J. Locke on Twitter for those two. Go follow, go read all their work, go do all that. And of course, I'm Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. That is at YABOI the Tank. And follow the College Loop literally everywhere. That is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that is Amazon Music, that is Google Podcasts, social media. You got YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts too. If I think I missed probably one. Did I? I don't think so. But yeah, with that, this has been the College Loop Podcast. And tell us in the comments, what do you think Rivaldo Fairweather's stat line for 2023 is going to be?